So I'm going to talk this morning about our journey in spiritual life and why we follow the practices that you see in this temple, in our daily activities. Everything is done by design, not by my design, by a timeless design. Who is the designer, you could say? The designer is the principle of Guru, the spiritual master, who has the responsibility of ferrying across souls, across this material universe, to the eternal abode, which is their proper place of being. What is our proper situation? So therefore we'll talk about where we are now and where we want to go, and why we adopt the practices that we follow here, which are designed or given to us and which are the best methods on the path to, you could say, the highest state of beatitude, grace, in the presence of God, in His service. We don't actually seek God directly. We seek love of God. That is our path. But how do we go from the sense of confusion amidst this world and our problems surrounding us, from our body, from others, from nature, and we have some instinct of devotion within us, but how do we go from that instinct of love to God to fully realized love for God with relationship to God? Vrindavan, can you not move the plastic? How do we go from our instinct? Stopped? What is that instinct? It's a certain kind of awareness that comes along with, as soon as consciousness starts to develop to a certain stage, the instinct of devotion to the Supreme starts to manifest. We're surrounded by consciousness. Yesterday in the talk, we spoke about what is the Brahmanda, the universe that we are in. What is its essential nature? It is spirit. And it is manifesting as matter. But why? Matter is simply there as a vessel for us when we've turned away from God. You want to turn away from me and try to enjoy this existence as me, in my various forms. God incarnates in so many forms. Why? Because we want to be God and we incarnate into all these forms and try to be God. So He comes in every form to try to bring us out and bring us back to Him. That is the reason for all the incarnations. He appears as a fish, He appears as a boar, He appears as a lion, He appears as a man, He appears in all these different forms. Not only this, these are only the few of the ones so that we can make attachment to God by understanding a few of His forms, but really His forms are infinite because there are infinite ways that we try to turn away from Him and He reappears to us. So why we are in matter? Simply because we have made that choice. I want an abode like you, separate from you, to enjoy like you. This goes back to an ontological argument we won't delve on, right? The origin of the soul and its turning away from God. That's a good topic for some discussions. But for this point, sometimes we get caught up in argument for the sake of argument, and that argument can curtail our progress because it's a way of distraction. Therefore the Buddha would say, if the house is burning, don't ask how the house started burning. First, escape the burning house. After the burning has ceased, experts will come and determine its cause and let you know. What we have to know is simply that we know who started the fire. We started the fire. The details, we can get into at a later date. The question is now, why are we here? But matter comes from spirit. This is the difference between theism and atheism. Atheism says consciousness comes from the body, it's part of the body, therefore we are essentially machines and everything is deterministic. And they operate on a religion of atheism because they also believe in miracles. And they also believe in things they can't understand. They can't explain. You ask an atheist, where does consciousness come from? Tell me, actually. Not just, oh, it's the same as the body. No, like, tell me. How did life come into being? Tell me, actually. Even Darwin, in The Origin of Species, he said, I'm bringing you to the point just after life began. That's the origin. So just accept my one miracle and then I'll explain the rest. We just do the same thing, but we say God is the source. Now that God can be defined in different terms, but what is God? We name it by different names: the absolute, the source, the divine, the infinite, conscious source of existence. But the closer we come to God consciousness, the closer we can realize the nature and the forms and the features of God. It's not a simple matter, it's profound, deep, cosmic. The closer we get, the closer we can see the personality of it. But also in the beginning, if you look at Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, first knowledge of God in realized terms, seen, is the universal form. That's the first knowledge imparted. Sukadeva Goswami, when he spoke to Parikshit Maharaj said, I'm going to die in 7 days by a curse. What should a man who knows when he's going to die do? And in general, once we realize that we're all going to die, what should such a man do? And so he began to explain to him the spiritual process of self-realization and God-realization. He explained the universal form, how to see God everywhere. First, learn to see God everywhere. Then you come into a feeling of the magnitude of your position. Try to see things on the deeper spiritual level. Because most people, because our consciousness is more dull, even in human embodiment, our mind is constantly gravitating back to what? Matter. And why is it going back to matter? Because we want to enjoy this world. And so the objects of our senses are always pulling at our senses. That is why matter has appeared. Fire to fire, earth to earth, water to water, air to air. I want to touch, I want to taste, I want to feel, I want to smell, I want to hear, I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy everything. But now, what is the nature of the soul? Why does the instinct towards God awaken at a certain point of our development of consciousness? So there are 5 states of consciousness. Brahmanda, everything is spirit. Matter appears in concert with spirit. Therefore, the tree, the grass, the animal, the aquatic, it all has spirit. Its essence is always spiritual. And the matter just appears in that dance of consciousness and matter. The state that we have chosen, the material state, and then the means to develop beyond that physical bondage. And so therefore it's described that as consciousness develops, naturally, that's evolution. There's a natural arc of conscious development over time. And so we say that the spirit migrates. The essential element within us that is seeing, that is hearing, that is tasting, that is touching, that is feeling pain and happiness. But yet it is not the eyes, it is not the ears, it is not the ears that hears, it is not the eyes that sees, it is not the tongue that tastes, it's not the hand that feels, it's not the feet that walks. They talk about this in terms of the Brahman as well. He who walks without legs, he who hears without ears, he who sees without eyes. And people become confused. If it doesn't have material form, how can it have spiritual reality? And so they conflate matter and spirit as one. This is illusion. This is the cause of our bondage. But the root cause is our enjoying tendency, separate from God. Therefore, yesterday, the whole of the mystery of spiritual life is in one phrase. Trying to enjoy the world through our own senses, separate from God, is lust. Trying to satisfy and serve the senses of God to please Him, that is love. Love in action. And therefore that is also the means to liberation. Loving service to God. Therefore we say impersonal liberation is just a darker hell than this material realm. Because devoid of relationship, we become deeper and deeper in ignorance and lost more and more profoundly. More and more covered and stunted in our growth. But naturally consciousness begins to evolve. Sometimes consciousness, when we have suffered so much, we've gone through the top of this food chain, you could say, human life. The top of the food chain. And it's described to be the doorway to liberation or the doorway to hell. That's the human form of life. It's a portal. Heaven and hell, they are both hell in this world. Beyond liberation, there's true heaven, which is being without attachment to this worldly things and with the only desire in the heart how to serve and please God. And that manifests as the purest love, because without pure love, you cannot serve God purely, without attachment or desire for your own enjoyment. Therefore, what did the gopis say? When the gopis cry tears of love, they dam their tears. Why? It's halting my service to the Lord. If I'm fanning Him and I'm becoming stunned, in ecstasy, and I can no longer fan Him, fie on this ecstasy that is holding back my service to the Lord. Because their only meditation, that is liberation. As soon as we can become situated in that mentality, we are liberated, even in this body. So like I said yesterday, there's 3 Rathayatras for us. In our sojourn in this world, the existence, how can all of our movement be in love, in devotion, in service to God? That is Rathayatra. From the time we wake to the time we sleep, we are ecstatic beings, because we're not static in one place. Stones, static beings. We are ecstatic beings. From the time we wake to the time we sleep, we are seeking ananda, bliss, happiness. Without that seeking nature, we would stop living. Therefore, anandamayo abhyasat. Because of the repetition of ananda spoken in scripture, anandamaya, anandamaya, anandamaya. Who is God? Anandamaya. Blissful, blissful, blissful. Repeated throughout scripture. They're the Vedanta. 12th aphorism. The summary of all knowledge says anandamaya abhyasat. We are bliss seekers. So from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, why are we driving? Why are we walking? Why are we eating? Why are we talking? Why are we doing this or that? We're seeking fulfillment, satisfaction, peace, happiness, whatever you want to call it. But what is Maya and what is liberation? Jadananda versus Chidananda. Material happiness, the happiness that comes through the interaction of the senses with the objects of the senses. Right? You can do behind the curtains before. The happiness that comes from the interaction of the senses with the objects of the senses. And it's different for everyone. God has arranged, we want to experience what happens. Oh, like for example, imagine you like ice cream so much. So you derive happiness from eating ice cream. I'm going to eat ice cream. But you're actually seeking a higher essence of happiness. So you're eating it. Why am I not satisfied? You eat more and you eat more. Eventually it's not good enough for you. So you seek grosser and grosser and grosser forms of happiness, eventually until you're a hog eating stool. And as a hog eating stool, you're thinking, I'm happy. In India, when we see, they have the open gutters. Why? To remind us we are attached to eating stool. And therefore you'll see little village kids go naked and they'll squat and pass stool, and 4 or 5 hogs will be waiting in line, jostling around to have breakfast. Why? We want to enjoy this world. We want to enjoy God. We love God, or we want to enjoy God. So we'll be bound as long as we want to enjoy God, enjoy this world, enjoy. We are not meant to be the enjoyer. We are meant to be enjoyed by God. And when we offer ourselves to God in that sense, then we can taste an enjoyment millions of times greater than he admits himself. Radharani's happiness is 10 million times greater than my own. The happiness of service to someone you love, to God, who has infinite capacity to reciprocate, and who has pledged that I reciprocate to my devotees tenfold. So how much can we please and satisfy ourselves? Not at all. The happiness we derive in this life even is through relationship and love and service. You can tell, look at someone like Bill Gates. How much money he had? Divorce. Lost how much? $35-40 billion. Why? He wasn't happy with his enjoyment with his wife, so he sought a lover outside his marriage. And she wasn't happy with him doing that, and she was upset. She thought, well, I helped build this, and some of this is mine, so they divorced. So why weren't they happy? Richest person in the world. Now he's trying to be happy how? Controlling the world, another God complex. Through philanthropy. Oh, philanthropy. You know what is philanthropy? Busy fool. Busy fool. You don't know the cure, but you're trying to be the doctor, administrating medicine to everyone? Busy fool, busy rascal. Madman. The more we try to become God, the more we become mad. Lost. That's why the height of impersonalism is even a deeper form of madness, because it's the essence of trying to be God. I can't be God, so at least let me merge with God and pretend to be God. And so he says, okay, come along for the ride. He fulfills our desires. But that is not going to make us ultimately happy. So as the soul starts to develop, you see simple people, right? You go from, it's described that the soul migrates, the self, the essence of the consciousness migrates through existence. But it naturally, once it's ready to evolve to the next stage, then it takes a new form. Upwards, the upward arc, until we achieve the human form of life. And that human form of life becomes a doorway. In animal species, we are simply enjoying the results of our activities as human beings. Our Swami Prabhupada, our Guru, would say, God sees, oh, you want to eat raw meat. Oh, I'll make you a tiger. It's a better suited vehicle for that. Tigers, they don't have, like we say, oh, you want to eat meat? Go and hunt an animal without weapons. Chase it down and devour it with your teeth. Then you should eat meat. We can go to the garden, pick a carrot and eat it. So we're meant to eat a carrot or an apple or a pear. Go and chase down a deer and eat it. Then you can take its venison. Otherwise, what right do you have with your artificial mechanisms to do that? So God says, oh, you want to be a man, but living like an animal? Like a carnivorous animal? Good. This is your desire. Become a tiger. Eat the deer. Eat the gazelle. The other side, vegetarianism. Oh, you want to be a vegetarian? You want to be a vegan? Just gonna eat lettuce. Oh, good. Become a rabbit. Without God, what is the difference? Rabbit or tiger? But for spiritual life, when we're developing our consciousness, we have the principle of ahimsa. Try to commit less violence. But we shouldn't think of, what do we think of as violence? Oh, I'm doing harm to someone. From our birth to our death, we are consumers. Right? So, you can't avoid consuming things. What does it mean to be a consumer? It means you're eating things, you're devouring things in this world. And what are you passing out? Stool. That other people have to clean up. And so we have an advanced society where we cover all the garbage and the dirty things, and we collect our garbage and we put it into the womb of the earth. Oh, Mother Earth, here's my gift back to you. You've given me birth, the body, you have given birth to the body by all the elements of the body. You've given me air to breathe, water to drink, the world to look upon, and all your garden to eat of. And I will consume it all and give it back to you in the form of my stool. So that is violence. Therefore, in our mission, we say, one of our daily meditations, how can I give back more than I take? How can I be a positive force? I'll make my own composting toilet. I'll take out my own trash. And I'll try to use less harmful trash that is a burden on the earth. But there are so many problems. Our Gurudev would say, problems are like waves in the ocean. Deal with one problem, don't worry, 1,000 are waiting. So therefore, what we do here is we try to go to the root of the problem and solve that. Correct the faulty equation. Correct the faulty equation, and everything will come into alignment. Our Gurudev would say, materialism, they try to stack up everything good on the basis of a bad equation. No God, we're just automatons. And how can we be free and liberated? A machine doesn't need liberation. If we're just a machine, why do you need freedom? Why do you need your so-called rights? Right to bear arms, right to religion, right to, homosexuality, abortion, all these other things. Whatever. Why do you need those rights if you're just a dead machine? If you're just a robot running around? Therefore, they're thinking nowadays, oh, AI is coming, and what are the rights of an AI machine? A machine doesn't have consciousness. Whatever you see animated, that is because of the animation of spirit. There is no animation without spirit. Anima means the spirit. Animal means anima, the spirit, then there's an animal. Without the spirit, there's no animal. So now we're developing our consciousness, we come to the human state of life. So how do we, to develop our consciousness to the point where it's ripe to achieve God knowledge, we have to live less like an animal while we're human. That's why we say most people are two-legged animals. It's not like a criticism. Two-legged animal means we're functioning as animals. And people say, yeah, we're just mammals, so let's get it on like mammals. They have popular songs like that. We're just animals. People say, yeah, it's good. And nowadays in New York City, we won't get into New York, but in general, you can choose. I know people, friends, families, kids. I'm a wolf. man. I'm otherkin, and it's just because of confusion. I don't know what is the purpose of my human existence, so I'm trying to find enjoyment in whatever I think and feel. I am my own God, I am my own teacher. And I think, oh, this person is God just because I can enjoy with them as God. But I'm not God, I'm not the goddess, I'm the servant of God. And I love God and I want to please Him. And I will receive whatever He offers me in return. Without expectation. My only return I pray for is His love, His service. There are different kinds of love even. The gopis asked Krishna when he returned after disappearing, "Oh Krishna, what kind of lover are you?" Some lovers only love if they are loved in return. Some love without consideration if love is reciprocated. Like parents, like gurus, like teachers in school. They teach you knowing that you will leave them. And that the knowledge they have gained from you, most likely they won't even remember you and regard you. If they're grateful, then they may think, oh, I learned so much. They'll have some gratitude to the teacher. But love without receiving. But Krishna said, ultimately, from all these categories of love, I'm none of them, I am God. I am Krishna, I love everyone. But as you approach me, the more intimate you want to be with me, I reciprocate with you. Therefore, I'm equal to all. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. In Gita, Krishna says, those who are my enemy and those who are my friend, I'm equal to them both. I grant them both liberation if they come in contact with me. If they don't want to be in contact with me, then I also grant that to them. God is the original wish fulfiller. You want to apply for a grant, apply to God. What does He say? Nityo nityanam chetanashchitananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kamam. God alone can satisfy the desires of all beings. He is the original source of all consciousness. He is the original eternal being from which all beings manifest. So now as a human being, why we give up violence in the gross form like animals, what do? We eat to live. We create some shelter and defend it. Why? This is mine. America, China, Russia, India, this is my land. How dare you come without my permission? But we need some boundaries. Why? It's better to have independent sovereign states than a one world order of demons that tell you, here's your phone. Not even your phone. They don't want to give you a phone. They want you to put on a pair of goggles and be in their figment of their imagination and enjoy in that and be their slave. Because in the past ages, slavery became difficult to continue because their standard of living was so low that eventually they revolted against their masters and overthrew them. So the modern form of slavery they would prefer is keep you in we won't get into this realm too much, don't worry. But, keep you on with eventually they won't need goggles. They'll have a chip in your brain. The LSD chip. And so you can go in whatever reality you imagine and enjoy the experience of sex life, food, whatever you want. In the meantime, the spoils of the world is for them, and they will have that sense of, I am God of this world and everyone is in my dominion, and I can control everyone. They're all foolish, ignorant masses. And we buy into it hook, line, and sinker. Give me it. Hook me. Where's my phone? I'm in Maya. Here is my portal to Maya. Eventually, going to bed, my VR goggles, and then, oh no, I have to take it to sleep. Sleep with it on, and wake up, and I'm back in my fantasy land. Fantasy of illusion. So what do we say? This is a separate topic. We use technological advancement for the propagation of the mission of God. But be very careful not to become the tool. That's why we say, you want to be a teacher, first become a Goswami. You want to be a guru, first learn self-control. Otherwise, the difference between a busy fool and busy intelligence. Without higher intelligence, we do not know the difference. Therefore, Mahabodhi Prabhu every day chants, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadhami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayantite. You don't want to be a busy fool? Then take shelter of God. Pray to Him. In the Gita, Krishna says, I will give you the intelligence by which to come to me if you surrender with love. Therefore, surrender is the doorway to bhakti. So we try to live a life where we commit less harm. But less harm without positive action is simply becoming a rabbit. What is the moral virtue of a rabbit compared to a tiger? There's no morality of a rabbit or a tiger. It's just different states of illusion. Tiger is acting upon their dharma, rabbit is acting upon their dharma. One is a vegan, one is a carnivore. Who cares? Until they achieve God consciousness. But in human life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Why does defending coming after mating? Because once we mate, then we need shelter. And then once we have shelter, we have to defend it from the privations of others. Right? You wake up, when you're born, eating. Where is my mother's breast? I eat and my body grows. And I sleep. I eat and I sleep and I eat and I sleep. Childhood, a few years, eating and sleeping, eating and sleeping, eating and sleeping, eating and sleeping. And eventually, eating, sleeping, mating. Eating, sleeping, mating. And then made enough, offspring comes, and now defending. Without trying to progress towards the achievement of God consciousness, it's all animal life. But there are certain prerequisites of the godly life. Nivrittatar rupagiyamanad bhavosharat shrota manobiramat ka uttamasloka gunanuvadat puman virajyeta vinapashugnat. Why we say to adopt the spiritual practice, first become vegetarian. Because what it allows is the consciousness to develop a sense of reality beyond matter. There's many very highly philanthropic, moralistic people who eat meat, and there's nothing, okay, we're not saying you can't serve God or love God like that, but it mostly keeps you in the sense of God in this world. And brotherhood of man brotherhood of man with like a sense of God, our Gurudev would say, brotherhood of man without God is a brotherhood of thieves. Morality without love of God is just a bunch of thieves getting together saying, I won't snitch on you, you don't snitch on me, let's live in peace and harmony because it's bad for us if we're always fighting. And, let's keep everyone else below us and control them and have a brotherhood of man. That's what the Enlightenment age desires. Brotherhood of man and the age of reason. Busy fools. Prabhupada would say, not busy fools, rascals. Why? Without the spiritual journey to God, this doorway to liberation, which is the human form of life, will be the doorway to hell. So therefore the purpose of life in the human state of life is not that. But we see throughout civilization, as the consciousness evolves to the state of human life, awareness of the greater spirit pervading reality starts to dawn upon us. And we start to ask questions. Who am I? What is God? And then we see, as there is evolution of consciousness, as soon as there's ripeness for devotion to appear, in the form of religion, it manifests. Even in the most primitive states of human civilization. Right? worshipping a tree, worshipping a hill, worshipping a river. Why worship a river, a tree, or a hill? Because you understand there's something greater than yourself, and you develop some feeble sense of devotion towards it, even if it's a provider, even if it's God the Father, God the provider, or God the Mother as nature. You'll see that devotional impulse awaken as soon as consciousness comes up to a certain stage of development. So that's why we see religion across civilizations, across time. Go to the earliest civilization, you'll see religion. But now we're at a crossroads in time. What is that crossroads in time we're in? Atheism is the ultimate anarchy, or the ultimate, not anarchy, the ultimate battle against God. Therefore, most of the deepest atheists, they're not atheists, they are antagonists to God. Otherwise, why would they just put the A before theism? Atheism, antagonism to theism. And so as we become more reasoned, we think, I should turn against God. Why do we turn against God? It's a separate discussion. We suffer because of our own mistakes, and then we blame others. Realization of the law of karma is realization of the law of good and evil. And the doorway to liberation, the human form of life, is accepting the onslaughts upon us that come as simply my due merits coming in return. It's hard for people to understand who don't understand the law of reincarnation. Because we say, oh, I was good in that whole life, I didn't deserve any of this. But in your past lives, you must have done it to someone else. You must have inflicted harm upon others. But we blame God, and then we become atheists for our suffering. But now, talking about our ashram, to conclude, 10-15 minutes. Our ashram is a spiritual oasis. Lost souls can come to find shelter, sanctuary in their journey to God. That is the purpose of our ashram. There are many ashrams in New York, around the world, with different kind of propositions. You can go to the Omega Institute, very nice. But mostly, most places, how to improve your psychology, your trauma, how to improve your body, make you more healthy, healing. We want healing. The only issue is that healing without realization of God is just going to make you, again, go back to suffering. Why do we become sick and diseased? Because we've misused the property that we've received from God to harm others. And so when we're crippled, we're lame, it's more difficult to harm others, so we say it's like some protection even. So if we are healed in this body, then we go out and commit more and more and more violence, and then by that, open the doorway to hell. And experience that state, and then try to evolve back over. It's the ultimate recycling. Right? Come back through all the stages of evolution until you again reach the human form of life. And again get an opportunity to salvation. But we should understand, therefore, we are not just an ashram. Oh yes, there's this one there, this one there, this one there. There are many ashrams, many spiritual centers. What we uniquely believe and practice, lived belief, that this world is not our eternal home. We are not here simply to make this a better world so that we can enjoy it more and keep God as a token on the shelf that we dust off for an hour a week and pray to, and we want just to enjoy in here in this world. No. We want to develop pure love for God. And then, upon that state, wherever He sends us, whatever He desires us to do, that is His choice. He wants to give us liberation, that is His choice. He wants to bring us to His eternal abode, that is His choice. Whatever He desires for us, I simply desire pure love for God. that's a daily thing. So that's why I was saying yesterday, today's Ekadashi. This is one of the fasting days. On this day we don't eat grains. For many thousands of years people have not eaten anything actually, just a little bit of water. Purify the senses in the body. And then whatever we accumulate that day, we offer to the temple. Whatever I would consume on one day, the next day, in Vedic culture we do bhiksha, we beg alms. Who begs alms? Not the householders, the mendicants, because they are sacrificing everything to God, His service, so they go beg alms to maintain His abode. Because they're so aloof from this world, so it's a way for people to come closer to God by offering of alms. Therefore, begging is the duty of a mendicant. It's our duty. Because if we don't beg, how do we give auspiciousness to those who have turned away? And they can come, oh, I'm giving so much, I can come to the temple. And then, yes, at least they'll come before God and start developing more, sincerely. So our primary method of approaching God is through sound. And there are other practices that we engage our whole body in. We can engage our body in service. But the root method is through sound. Because sound is that thing that is within matter but also beyond. Transcendental sound. Most of what people speak is material sound. Most of what you'll find on the internet, material sound. But spiritual sound comes from the spiritual world as the Guru delivering us. Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound. The spoken word of God. And through the mantra. The mantra, or the name of God, has all the power of God within it. Because He has invested it with His own power. Nam nam akari bahuda nija sarva shaktis. All of my power, sarva shaktis, all of my potency I have instilled within my name. So how to get liberation? You chant the name of God. And gradually it will awaken you into higher and higher states of being until you achieve complete freedom in your loving relationship with God. But people are, therefore we are afraid of chanting and afraid of kirtan. And we stop because we are attached to our present state of bondage. Because it's what we've known for so long. And we are attached to the drops of honey falling from the tree branch above us, while the tiger is waiting to eat us, while the snakes and scorpions are below us, and while day and night are being eaten away by time. We are attached to this world, so we don't want to leave. But if you want liberation, simply know in your heart, this life, I've lived so long in material existence. The soul is higher than matter, it's spiritual nature. The soul has a spiritual nature, of the nature of God, particle of God's existence. Separate from Him, but inseparable from Him. Separate from God, but inseparable from God. Achinta Bed Abed, inconceivably one and different. We are the finite, He is the infinite. And we offer ourselves to Him in love. And so how do we come closer to Him? We chant His name. All of His potency is in His name. He says, you chant my name, this name of God is the mantra that will pull you out of samsara. That's why we also chant on beads. This is parikrama. Parikrama means circumambulation, pilgrimage. So every day we do pilgrimage around our beads. Unwinding the wheel of samsara. Going closer to God. Bead by bead by bead. Therefore you look at different religions, Catholics, some religious Muslims. They have rosary. They chant the names of God. They chant their holy prayers. So we do it in different ways. However, we can more and more and more think of God. But just thinking of God, because our mind is so rotten, we think, I'll just think of God, I'll think of God, okay, I'll sit and think of God. Try it. You think of God, but it's mixed up with all sorts of garbage. It's not pure, but His name is pure. And so when we do our chants together, we come together and we call out with devotion. We do it very melodically and things like that, but the reason for the melody is just to attract our mind to it. But great teachers like Srila Swami Prabhupada, very melodious, but more than the melody is the power of his pure sound vibration. When he started his movement, Swami Prabhupada, from nothing to what it is now, which is thousands of centers, he sat in a park and he did kirtan. Just chanting the pure names of God. Our mantras, we use Om, we use Kling, we use Namaha, which is things that helps purify the mind. But really, the essence of the mantra is the name of God. Any Gayatri mantra. The essence of the Gayatri mantra is the names of the personality behind it and the mood of offering ourselves to them. Dhimahi, I meditate upon you. Prachodayat, I worship you. Vidmahe, I understand you. Dhimahi, I meditate upon you. Vidmahe, I'm trying to understand you, serve you. Prachodayat, I'm worshiping you. So how do I worship you? Krishna says, I send Guru, and all the knowledge that he is teaching us is simply to bring us to the attachment to chanting his name. Without that attachment of chanting God's name, with love and faith, why do they say in the Bible, don't chant the Lord's name in vain. Don't make a mockery of it. So we chant with attachment. But the process anyhow starts, needs to anyhow start. So therefore we say Stobhayam Helayam Va, even if you are joking, even if you are laughing, even if you are mocking someone, oh, Krishna, 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 ha ha, you Hare Krishna, why is our name Hare Krishna? So that even by mentioning who we are, they are using the name of God and starting the process. Oh, you're the Hare Krishnas, the Krishnas. They're taking the name of Krishna and all his potency is there. And Hare, Radharani, Hare means Radha, in the form of who has stolen the heart of her beloved Krishna. That is Hare. Hare means to steal the heart of the beloved, to capture the heart of the beloved. Therefore she is Hare. So first she comes, then Krishna. First Radha comes, then Krishna. So by saying our name, oh, you're saying, then Guru thinks you're saying the name of my beloveds, Radha Krishna. Spiritual journey begins. And then they will arrange all the things for you to get out of samsara. Therefore the best welfare work is simply distributing the holy name. So therefore we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Korotu Kalyanam, the name Krishna gives all auspiciousness. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya, the holy name is a wish-fulfilling touchstone. Whatever you desire can be granted by chanting the name of God. It is pure consciousness, Chaitanya, Rasa Vigraha. It is the embodiment of all rasa, of all loving mellows of relationships. Purna Shuddha, it is completely pure, Abhinatam, Nama Namina, and it is non-different from God himself. So when we're doing our kirtan, when we're chanting the mantra like we were last night till what? 1 a.m. And all morning, all day. In temples in India, it's 24/7. For 35 years, it hasn't stopped once. Why? So we can come closer to God, achieve love, realization of God, and pure love for God. So the name of God is very special because if we just see God directly, we may or may not develop love for him. But the name of God with his beloved Radharani, the embodiment of his love, taking shelter of her, then pure love for Krishna can awaken. So therefore we sing and we chant. We should meditate even on an intellectual level. The name of God and God is one. So when we are chanting his name in kirtan, don't just be attached to the melodious sound. The sound is good. It's the melodious sound, the beautiful quality is keeping us attracted to the name. But meditate on this not just as melodic sound vibration, but as the presence of God, God walking amongst us in the form of his name. God appearing on our tongues, dancing on our tongues in the form of his name. When we chant, we are with Krishna. When we sing, we are with Krishna. And so therefore this should be we shouldn't be living like animals, which means on dull consciousness. Live on higher consciousness, understanding the spiritual reality. And why are we trying to go to God? Because we are not of matter. We are of spirit. Therefore Krishna says in the Gita, the spirit soul is my higher energy. Higher than earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, there is the soul, which is of my spiritual nature. And therefore you should not remain in this world, you should come to me. And if you worship me with love and chant my names, Krishna says in the Gita, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata. Those who have taken a firm vow to continuously utter my name. And perform my kirtan, which means to sing or to glorify or to spread this message. That is also kirtan. But why are we teaching people to do kirtan if we ourselves are not practicing chanting? Therefore, our method of spiritual life here, how we advance in the spiritual journey is, first of all, through serving sound vibration, which is beyond ether, the ethereal realm of space, right? Is higher than, it's a subtler essence. Sound vibration. It's the animating principle. And it comes from, the mantra itself comes from the spiritual world into this world to drag us out of this world. That is, the mantra isn't a material thing. The mantra is Purna Shuddha, pure from that world, from the eternal world. It comes in this world to rip us out through love, by chanting the name. So once we take up this process, then like with Srila Prabhupada, first they did kirtan, then Guru Padashray, taking shelter of the spiritual master. Then shikshanam, hearing the instructions of the spiritual master. Then following the ninefold process of devotion, hearing. Even the ninefold process of devotion, first hearing the sound. Then kirtan, singing the sound. Smaranam, remembering God while doing the kirtan. Or remembrance. Then service. Then offering of prayers with the sound vibration, vandanam. This is an offering of prayers. Sound vibration. Dasyam, the mood of being a servant. Oh God, I am yours. Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Dasyam, Sakyam, God is my friend. Then we offer prayers in the mood of a friend with God. We offer prayers in the mood of a servant of God. Sound vibration. Atmanivedan, self-surrender. We offer prayers in the mood of surrender to God. Sharanagati, there's a whole book on prayers to surrender. So Navada Bhakti, ninefold limbs of devotion. How do we surrender? Sing the prayers that are helping you realize the need to surrender. And as a regular meditation, every day we sing this prayer of Sharanagati. What? Every day we sing it. What do we sing with that? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori Sadanga Sharanagati. He's given us these 6 limbs of surrender. And so we sing it and we remember, how do I accept what is favorable to surrender? To God, my relation with God? How do I give up what is unfavorable to my relationship with God? How do I accept God as my maintainer, my protector? How do I become humble and honor others without desiring honor for myself? And how do I surrender completely? Every day we chant. So Atmani Vedan, through prayer, through sound. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam. When we do Sevanam, when we do Seva, we should do Seva like the gopis, singing Krishna's names. Govinda Dhamo Dhamadavite. Hey Krishna, oh please lift me up from this well of samsara. Lift me up from this well of samsara. Engage me in your eternal loving service. So then Guru teaches us all the process. Festivals. Festival is one limb of bhakti. Well, what do we do during the festival? Kirtan. That's the essential element. Without kirtan, without harikatha, there's no festival. The rest is just the vessel, the plate that holds the ingredients for the festival. And good food and this and that so that people can feel happy. But if there's no kirtan and no harikatha, no speaking about God, no singing about God, there's no festival. So even the limb of bhakti, which is festivals, paricharanam, worshipping the Lord like a king and dancing for Him, singing for Him. Without the kirtan, it is not a festival. All our limbs of bhakti are connected to that. Therefore, our essential process of spiritual development is service to the sound vibration, transcendental sound. Therefore, our books, the words of our Guru, we print, serving transcendental sound. But then we must also become vessels of our Guru's spirit and His will to continue on that living tradition, so that it's not just a book, so that it's alive. And then we can remember and preach Sadhu Guru Sastra. The book is there to help us be guided to know if we're completely going off or not. Which is, as soon as we want to be God again and not take shelter, every Guru is a disciple in our line. Every guru, his whole life is simply trying to please his guru. Then he is a guru. Otherwise, he's a rascal. What is the difference between guru and not guru? Being a disciple. Completely surrendered to God and the spiritual master. Every moment of your life, how can I please my guru and my spiritual master and my beloved, my Lord? Then I am guru. Without internally just trying to serve and please and accepting guidance. That's why we see many people go off. Create our own doctrine, our own philosophy. Don't preach as it is the philosophy of Krishna. Because Krishna is the original guru. Krishna says, you're just acting as my representatives. This is an interesting point for Guru Tattva Mahaprabhu. We were talking about this. There's different levels of gurus, right? But who has the intellectual property of the principle of guru in our line? That is Krishna. It's his system. Therefore, Swami Prabhupada said, simply give Krishna's message as it is, then you can be guru. Bhagavad Gita as it is, not your own mind, your own speculation. And so think of like a car dealership. I gave this example because it's a practical example we can understand. When you go to a car dealership to buy a car, who do you first come in contact with?
Salesman.
I know, because my brother-in-law worked for Ford, big dealership in Fresno. And you earn money by commission. So when a customer drives in the lot, 4 or 5 guys they sometimes fight with each other to be the first point of contact. But as soon as they get there, they're all smiles. But behind the scenes, there's cutthroat competition. Because they get some salary, but really it's incentivized to sell the car. So okay, we're not talking about the material system, but the point is, the salesman comes, not the owner of the car manufacturing or the plant. Even the manufacturing place where they manufacture the cars, that's not the owner. Who owns it, who has designed it, who has created the company, who has created the mechanism. So that is Krishna. Therefore, Vande Krishna Jagat Guru, offer prayer to Krishna, the original Guru. And who is Krishna's Guru? Srimati Radhika. So Srimati Radhika, then Krishna, but she is hidden. But Krishna, then Lord Brahma, then Narad, then Vyas, then this whole line comes down to this present moment. So how can we be there? Our Gurudev would use the term postman. Swami Prabhupada would use the term postman. The problem comes when we think, now I'm the owner of the dealership, I'm the owner of the car manufacturing plant, I created the whole system. But why are you speaking the Gita then? If you created it, don't mention the Gita, don't use any verse from the Gita, you don't use any verse of the Bhagavatam. If you're speaking from scripture, don't pretend that it's all yours. Oh, all this knowledge, I am the author of this and I've written this many books. What have you written? You're just continuing to give his message as it is in the ways that people can understand in this time, but it's his message. He is the owner. And our Gurudev would say, this is a very interesting thing in his lectures, Gurudev said something very interesting. Generally we think Nityananda is original Guru, Adi Guru, Akhanda Guru. But he is Akhanda Guru, the root of the Gurus, only because Mahaprabhu has given him that seva. Therefore Gurudev said Mahaprabhu is our real Guru. Why? Because Gurudev is saying, go back to the source, ontological source. Who has created the Guru position? For us in Bhakta Bandhav, Krishna says, I am the dearmost friend of my devotees, Ashmakam Bandhava Bhakta. I am Bhakta Bandhav. In Sastra, Krishna speaks this to Arjuna, says, I am Bhakta Bandhav. I am the dearmost friend of my devotees. Ashmakam Bandhava, the dearmost friend of my devotees, Bhaktas. And then he says, O Arjuna, Bhaktanam Bandhavavayam. The devotees are my dearmost friends. Why? Kintu Prabhoya Eva Priyatasya. Because they fulfill that function that is very needed. And so they are very dear to me. And therefore, Shakshad Haritvena, they become as good as myself, being my messenger. So after Krishna says, the devotees are my dearmost friend, he says, why? Jagatam Guruvo Bhakta, because they can be gurus of the whole world. Jagatam Guru, that is the root of Jagat Guru. Jagatam Guruvo Bhakta, the devotee is the guru of the world, the real devotee. Bhaktanam Guruvo Vayam, and I am the guru of my devotees. So this is how God walks and appears in this world and brings us out of samsara to him in the form of the guru. But if the guru starts to think, I am Krishna, then they will go to hell. Therefore, I am the postman. Gurudev would say, be the postman. Deliver the message as it is, purely. Then you can create a pure worldwide movement in guidance. As soon as we try to become God, then corruption enters. Corruption leads to chaos. Chaos leads to disorder. Disorder leads to decay. Decay leads to destruction and suffering. So therefore, dasosmi, I am the servant. But I am the servant of the highest. I am the servant of my Guru, who is Sakshat Hari. Krishna says, Acharya mam bijaniyam, know the Guru to be as good as myself, because I am investing him with my power as my representative. So when you go to the car dealership, and the salesman comes to sell you a car, like the Vartma Pradarshak Guru, showing you the path. And then when it comes time, I know, because I've looked in some car dealerships recently trying to find, how to buy a used car, maybe a hybrid or something, but trying to find a budget. So first they use point of contact, Vartma Pradarshak. Then when they really want to start getting you ready to close the deal, they bring you to the closer, Diksha Guru. Initiating spiritual master. And then they call usually like a Shiksha Guru, someone who's like an expert, instructor, just to help convince you. This is how it works, this is why we're much better than the competition, we have better longevity, better mileage, better this is good, look at this, that, this and the other. But who designed the car, who owns the company? That is God. Therefore he is the original Guru. But he is the Guru of all the Gurus. That is Prabhupada. Prabhupada means first Krishna, at whose feet we can all reside. And Prabhupada is who brings us to the feet of Krishna, therefore he is Prabhupada. Therefore we call Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, Jiva Goswami Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Those great luminaries who have created a revolution in this world and brought us to the feet of Krishna. That is Prabhupada. Therefore, envious of his name, how will you get bhakti? We've had this discussion before. Those who are envious of Prabhupada's title, the son, the best son, inherits the title of the father. So he was the best son. Therefore, our Bhagavat Parampara, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That is our Bhagavat Parampara. But there's so much envy towards that. And so therefore, how can we undermine the faith of his followers? How can we undermine his mission? We say no, we are not involved in that. We take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Our mission is based on Srila Prabhupada, his model, and Srila Gurudev. Therefore, we are, with all due respect, we are not Gaudiya Mat. Because we are the sons and the daughters, but what is the vision of Mahaprabhu to create a worldwide movement of Krishna consciousness to bring people to Krishna? That movement cannot be based on belittling others and envy towards others. It has to be based on complete broad-mindedness. Mahaprabhu said, Prithiviti Acha Jatanagaradigram, every town and village. Therefore he said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur predicted, when will the Westerners dance together with the Bengalis and the Hindustanis, together as one, not as superior and as inferior. Swami Prabhupada, when he preached in 1968, we followed his model. What was his model? Empower everyone to become evolved in their spiritual life and then become a teacher. Swami Prabhupada in 68, in his lectures, he said, all my sons and daughters, I want you to become gurus and deliver this whole world. That is Prabhupada's model. Another model is only one king and many servants. So that's also good, no problem, as long as the guru is pure and bringing you to Krishna. But how are we going to create a worldwide movement that is pure, that is not based on casteism and racism and this sectarianism and thatism? I am an Indian, you are Mlecha. When Prabhupada first brought Westerners to India, many acharyas would not eat their food. Prabhupada had already given them Diksha. Diksha means now they have achieved spiritual birth in the family of Krishna, Achyuta Gotra. So there are many levels of casteism. And our acharyas have been fighting this casteism based on bodily types since Ramanujacharya. They tried to poison and kill Ramanujacharya. Why? Because he was preaching that non-Brahmins can receive Diksha initiation and even become guru. Narottam Das Thakur, he wasn't a Brahmin as a guru. Therefore they tried to hurt him and attack him and slander him. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada they tried to kill. Why? Because he was a liberator. He liberated them from caste consciousness. Higher and lower according to the type of the body. But you are by soul a Brahmin. As much as you know God, you are a Brahmin. As much as you are in ignorance of God and your relationship with God, even if you are by body a Brahmin, you're only a friend of the Brahmins. Therefore you are a disgrace to your family. If you're not acting as a Brahmin with the body of a Brahmin, then you're not worshipping God, you're eating meat. Nowadays, so many Brahmins. I'm a Brahmin eating beef. You are Brahmin. You're a disgrace to the line of Brahmins. So, how can you create a true mission where everyone is simply the humble servant of God? The humble servant of our eternal spiritual masters. Gopi Bharatu Padakamalyor Dasa Dasa Anudasa, servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. That is my eternal identity. No casteism. We are all equal servants of God. And we surrender equally to Guru. And we take up his banner and preach his mission. And help souls who are lost and suffering in Maya. How do we help them? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In every town, in every village, in every city. As during the time of Srila Swami Prabhupada. That was what Gurudev wanted us to do. Therefore Gurudev also, 2004, had to leave. Why? Why are you letting Shamara Didi paint the deities? She is a woman. You imagine here, some acharyas come, ladies doing arti, dressing the deities. What is this? What to speak of that? Prem Pradeep, first white person to ever serve the deities in Gaudiya Math temple in India. For 6 months, doing Shringar, doing Archan, doing everything. It's a huge controversy. Therefore we see those Vaishnavas who have no caste consciousness, who only see everyone in the principle of the soul, they are Guru. Bringing us closer to Krishna. Engaging everyone, not, you are black or white or Indian or American or Chinese or this. We want a Jagat Guru from China and from America and from India and from Brazil, everywhere. But not for Brazil, not for India, no zonal acharya system. Whoever develops pure love for God and is striving forward on that path, whoever is in their mood, in their heart, simply a servant of their Guru and their Guru and their Guru, servant of the servant of the servant, then they should go out and spread that message. In Prabhupada's time, the early days, how long would they give a couple before they would send them to a new place? Right? Prabhupada came to New York, then when was Montreal? Who went to Montreal? Within a few weeks, months, go to Montreal, start a center. Within a few weeks, first go to San Francisco, you start a center, then I'll come to Rathayatra. Go start a center in Chicago, and then everywhere, within 10 years, 108 centers. Why? Because the movement was pure under his direction. But we complicate it. We go away from the basics, and we try to again institute casteism. I am superior, you are inferior. Instead of empowering people, we keep people down. Everyone should grow and evolve, become better than us, become superior. The teacher wants the student to surpass him. The pure teacher, the student should surpass me, become a bigger guru than me. So people think, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he must be mad that Prabhupada took his name. He's overjoyed. He didn't take his name, he inherited his father's title to serve his father, to bring everyone to his father. Whenever someone would sing Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada would sing Jaya Prabhupada. Why? Because he was singing to his spiritual master. He brought everyone to the lotus feet of his spiritual master. Therefore, he is Prabhupada, bringing them to the feet of his master. And therefore Prabhupada brings him the defeat of his master, all the way to Krishna. So this is the mood of our Acharya line. Open. Nityananda Prabhu said, Abhada Karuna Sindhu, I'm breaking open the dam of the love. And we watched this in New Braj, they played this video. Gurudev said, wherever there's a wall, I will smash it. Wherever there's a wall dividing people, this group, that group, favorable, oh, you are not in my group. Why? I'm trying to control and dominate. So you're not allowed in my temple. But Gurudev said, I've come. Sometimes we erect walls to defend and we need to protect people. So we need sometimes walls. But also sometimes we need to understand that the whole world is burning. When the whole world is burning, everyone is qualified to be a firefighter. Here's a hose. Put out the fire. You don't have a hose? Fetch a pail and get some water from a well. Who is qualified to be guru? Everyone. Vardma Pradarshak. Start baby steps. Become a postman. Deliver the message. That is Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada started the mission by making everyone Vardma Pradarshak gurus. Within moments, 3-4 days, shaved up your head, go out on the street, talk to people. Bring them to the temple. Then you create a worldwide movement. Otherwise, miserly mentality and fear based on insecurity. Where we see criticism of Vaishnav, miserliness, envy, fear, insecurity. Very little positive emotion in criticism. Dragging others down. Sense of superiority also. I know so much. I am guru. I am not the servant of my guru. Ask your guru, would he tell you to act like that? Criticize devotees all the time. What is my public policy? Criticize everyone. I am the watchdog of the sampradaya. Yes, you'll be the dog. You've got one thing right. But serve Guru. So we'll have breakfast and we can sit and talk. You want to please, Prabhu? Yes. Haribo.
Question?
Yes.
So, in that regard, on your last part of the comment, that someone may say, okay, we're pending Vaishnava, and for the different reasons that you said. But another thing, if you point out, in other words, there's a lot of harm that's been done in the name of someone being a Vaishnava and liberating, some of our gurus' teachings and movements and literatures and all these things. So where's the balance? Or if we just say, okay, if we're looking at what Bhakti Pragyan Keshi said, we shouldn't be weak, we shouldn't just, Krishna, we should, use our energy in action to be able to prevent. Sometimes it's just having to wake people up to understand what's happening around them they don't see. So what's the difference between that and offending?
So we in our mission that's developing, our motto is a few verses of Srimati Radhika speaking to Krishna. And she talks about the nature of love and its power. She says love is like a lion, devouring all obstacles and becoming strengthened by them. This is verse 54 and 55 of Prem Samput. Radharani speaking to Krishna about the nature of love.
And which one I missed?
Prem Samput 54, 55. We've adopted that as like a motto for our mission. So she says, love is like a lion devouring all obstacles in its path, from one's beloved, from family, from planetary influence, whatever. So in a missionary sense, how can we act by love first? Not just as a lion. Act from love, and love can be in defense, in protection, but from love. And therefore there are cutting the arguments, and then there's healing the wound after cutting the argument. Like surgery, but if you only do surgery and don't heal the wound after the surgery, then the person will die. Then what was the point of doing the surgery? So surgery means cutting, but after cutting and removing the false argument, whatever it may be, but then healing the wound by affection and by soothing and by ointments. But that's one thing. But Radharani says something interesting. She says, love doesn't waste time on dog-like obstacles. It ignores them like a lion. But if there's an elephant in its path, it devours it and is strengthened by that devouring. So the way I understand that in terms of service is, I mean, this is a high ideal, so we're not even really pretending to like how to live that. But the idea is that there's a way for proactivity, showing by example. So Swami Prabhupada, he was proactive and created a worldwide movement. If we are proactive, then whoever develops faith in relationship through our preaching will naturally listen. And if they have faith in another person, they'll naturally listen there. So it's based on faith. And therefore it has to be a living tradition with faith in living people who are connected to their spiritual masters who are also eternally living. And so our way is, yes, we have to protect and defend the teaching of our gurus. We must. But with love. And if the argument, there's a difference between cutting an argument and criticizing. You can still have affection for, it depends if it's malicious, but you can have affection for people you disagree with profoundly. And you can uphold the teachings of your guru, but proactively preaching and helping people and bringing people to Krishna, we become very narrow-minded because we just think, whoever's here, let's just argue amongst ourselves at the dinner table. Who cares if 5 or 10 or 50 people or 100 people are arguing about one thing? What about the billions of people who are burning in samsara? That's how I understand. Go out and help them be proactive.